problem, not them. Now, we're going to move on. Discrimination against LGBTQ people make us particularly vulnerable to HIV. In most states, it's perfectly legal. This is the problem. In most states, it's perfectly legal to discriminate against someone on the basis of their sexual orientation or their gender identity in one or more aspects of their life, including employment, housing, public accommodations, you name it. Explicit non-discrimination protections based on sexual orientation or gender identity do not exist at the federal level. Let me read that again. Explicit non-discrimination protections based on sexual orientation or gender identity do not exist at the federal level. That means we have no federal protection for people who have a different sexual orientation or gender identity. Now, let me just go ahead and say, it doesn't matter if you agree with them or not. It doesn't matter if you have a problem with which bathroom they use. It doesn't matter if you disagree with the way these people dress. It doesn't matter if you have a problem with which bar these people go to. It doesn't matter if you have a problem with who these people sleep with behind closed doors. It doesn't matter if you have a problem with them putting on makeup. It doesn't matter if you have a problem with men wearing high heels. It does not matter what you have a problem with. That is your problem. These are Americans. They live in the United States of America. They live, breathe, and die here, and we're trying to keep them alive. That's where I'm coming from. And if you can tell there's a little fire under me right now, you're very observant. Dealing with the potential consequences of bias and discrimination, job loss, homelessness, lack of health care insurance often results in LGBTQ people engaging in behaviors that facilitate the spread of HIV. Now, does that mean that people who come across bad circumstances are going to run out and spread HIV? No, that's not what it's saying. But some people are going to listen to that and they're going to say, well, that means they're irresponsible. That does not mean that. But being a product of an environment is a real thing. Job loss, homelessness, lack of health care, that's a bad combination. For example, in the face of persistent employment discrimination, many transgender women are left with few other options but to engage in survival sex work in order to meet their most basic needs. According to a 2015 survey of more than 27,000 transgender people, the rate of HIV diagnosis was 5 times higher among those who participated in sex work at any point in their lifetime than among those who have not. Now, am I saying that all transgender women are hookers? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But some of you are going to hear that, and you're going to think, well, transgender women are hookers. Hey, straight women are hookers. It's not. We're not blaming this on a certain demographic here. But when it comes to health care, when it comes to life or death, when it comes to the problem that we have with HIV in this country and AIDS in this country, we need protection for these people. And I'm not talking about condoms. I'm not talking about birth control. I'm talking about health care. I'm talking about, condoms don't, you can swallow a condom and it's not going to keep you alive. I don't recommend swallowing condoms. But I say that because you can swallow a pill and it will keep you alive. This is a huge problem. This is something that we have to look at, and I would be a complete hypocrite if I were to get on one podcast episode and say I support the LGBTQ community 100% and then not bring this to light. I would 110% be a hypocrite if I said I support them and then I didn't bring this to the table. These things have got to come out. And, I don't know of too many Republicans or too many conservatives in America who bring these issues to the table. I really don't. I think a lot of people sweep this under the rug because, guess what? That's not my problem. But it is our problem. If you're a human being, this is your problem. This should be your burden. We should want to keep people alive. Going further, anti-LGBTQ bias further enables the spread of HIV by discouraging many in our community from getting tested or treated for HIV for fear of harassment. Now, folks, I just talked about there are no federal protections for people with sexual identity or sexual orientations that are different than our own, if you're not a part of the LGBTQ community. So if there are no federal protections, this makes 100% sense to me. It's perfectly legal for straight, healthy people to harass and badger people in the LGBTQ community for getting tested for this stuff and for being treated for this stuff. And that's where we have got to stop making people fear for their lives. And out of this fear of being harassed and badgered and bullied and tortured, these people are not getting help. So yes, it is our responsibility to encourage them to get the help that they need, just like you would anybody else for any other. You know, think about this. If you're, let's say, I don't know, guys, think about if your mom or dad called you tomorrow and said, I have cancer. What would you do? What would you do? Would you bully the shit out of them and tell them they're a bunch of irresponsible people who either smoked or ate well-done beef too much or some? Well, I mean, would you treat them like that and tell them that they had no business going and getting tested or treated? Of course not. So why would you do that to any demographic that's afflicted with HIV or AIDS? It doesn't make sense. A 2014 Kaiser Family Foundation survey of gay and bisexual men in the U.S. found that 15% of them had received poor treatment from a medical professional as a result of their sexual orientation. Guys, that means nurses and doctors are treating people like garbage because of their sexual orientation. And at least 30% did not feel comfortable discussing their sexual behaviors with a healthcare provider. For gay and bisexual youth who are just beginning to explore their sexuality, homophobia and other forms of anti-LGBTQ bias help explain why so many young people in our community are unaware of their HIV status. They're scared to death, people. They're scared to death. First of all, I don't know if everyone in this country has ever had a friend or a family member who has come out and let everyone know that they're gay or transgender. I don't know if everyone has experienced that. But for those of us who have friends who have said that, man, I guess I don't know how to explain it. It's scary for me to think that there are people who are so scared to death to admit who they are. I can't imagine that. Like, you know, when you're a kid, people ask you, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an astronaut. Some of these people, guys, some of these kids out here who are born this way, all they want to be when they grow up is themselves. Make sense? That's all they want to be. They don't care about astronauts. They don't care about doctors. They don't care about being a fireman. That's not the priority. The priority is they want to live in a world where they can be themselves. And if they're scared to come out and be themselves, you can bet your ass that they're scared to get tested for HIV or AIDS. They're scared to death. Such rampant levels of anti-LGBTQ bias is particularly worrisome when so few HIV cases in the U.S. seem to have the virus under control. Of the 1.2 million people living with HIV in the United States in 2011, only 30% of them had consistently taken their medication and were able to lower the amount of HIV in their bodies to undetectable levels. While undetectable, a person living with HIV remains in good health and is virtually impossible to transmit the virus to a partner. Prevention options like condoms, pre-exposure prophylaxis exist for those in relationships where one partner is not yet undetectable. So think about that for a second. Out of 1.2 million people living with HIV in the United States in 2011, just 2011 alone, only 30% of them had consistently taken their medication like they were supposed to. And why is that? It's because they need help. They need help. And whose job is it to help them? It's ours. If we, the people, don't keep people in the United States of America alive, there will be no more United States of America. Now, does everybody have HIV or AIDS? No. That's not what I'm saying. But this is a serious problem. This is why the LGBTQ community, I'm gonna keep saying it, because some of you people are going to listen to this and you're going to say, why is he talking about this? He's talking about gay and bisexual men. He's talking about transgender women. He's talking about HIV and AIDS. Why is he talking about this? It's because this is the reason why they still march. This is the reason why they still assemble. This is the reason why they march in front of the White House. This is the reason why they wave the flags. They need the president. They need Americans to understand that they're still here and they want to remain here. But if we don't do everything we can to protect them, they're going to die. And that's on us. So the problem is we have got to provide health care to 300 plus million Americans as if this could happen to anybody. And if we're not providing health care to 300 plus million people in the United States of America, then we may as well not offer it at all. We may as well not provide anything. HIV prevention, going a little further here. HIV prevention, treatment, and research programs are underfunded and often hampered by ideological restrictions. That's a fact, people. That's a fact. We still have a lot of people in the United States who want to rain down a ball of judgment on the LGBTQ community simply because they disagree with their lifestyle. Now, I'm not reading that. That's me talking. Hey, I was there once. Before, before I had the ability to grow up a little bit, I'm telling you guys, I'm not afraid to admit it. I used to be so anti-gay and calling people faggots all the time, and I treated people like dirt. But guys, the only way to get through that, the only way to overcome that is to get an education. And I'm not talking about go to college. I'm talking about reach out to these people. Mingle with them. Get to know them. And that's where when I was 19 years old is when I met Heath, and Heath instantly became one of my friends. I wish everybody knew Heath. Unfortunately, not everybody can, and that's fine. Heath probably doesn't have time to know all of you. But I don't want to see anything happen to him. So does this hit home for me? It doesn't hit home as far as my blood relatives go, but it does hit home for me as far as people I care about. And as a veteran, I don't care. It's not that I care about them because they're my friends. I care about Americans in general. Just because I serve this country. That's why I've said time and time again that there is not one person in this United States of America who should be any less free than the person sitting next to him. Now, we're about 45 minutes into the show. We've got a lot more we're going to talk about. I'm going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to get us a little message from our platform here, Spreaker.com. So take a listen, and we'll be right back.